Hello and welcome back to the Xbox North podcast, episode 34. This week we talk about Respawn Entertainment taking on more Star Wars, Microsoft and Xbox having their best physical year yet for the brand. Also, Blizzard stepping into a new universe and a new genre as well. All this and much more on this week's episode of the Xbox North podcast. With that said, thank you so much for tuning in, subscribing, rate and review this episode, share and hit that like button, please. I'm your host, Joshua James, and with me today, and like always, Dan, how are you doing? What you playing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I've been playing a couple different games lately. Been playing some Minecraft with the kiddos, trying to get them orientated and teaching them how to do a few cool things. I'm trying to remember how to build. Right? It's like there's a lot of stuff that's into it now, and it's a lot more expansive than when I played it back in the day. And I'm trying to remember how to build the hidden doors and stuff using all the redstone and everything, so I can be I'm gonna show them something cool. So I'm trying to do that not in front of them and trying to figure it out.
It's you can be sneaky and stuff, and you can hide your stuff or build secret bases.
Press a button here and all this stuff opens up. Be super cool. And then I've been playing some DayZ with our buddy Ryan. I've been getting into that a little bit lately. It's an interesting little survival game. It is, definitely expect to die if you do get into it. And don't expect to have your things when you respawn.
Yeah.
It was basically my first day of trying it. My first few hours were just okay, get out here, try a few things. Okay, got too cold, got sick. Okay, don't know where to get medicine for my guy. Oh, he's dying. Oh no, I'm bleeding now. Oh no, just died again. It's you find a few cool things right at the beginning there, and then you're gonna die 4 or 5 times until you get the hang of stuff. And I even had Ryan there to guide me. So
there you go. Yeah, that game is what is it? Based off Arma 2 mod or something?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was originally just an Arma 2 mod, and Arma is just a very military survival game and everything. And it's you have to eat, you have to make sure you're warm, you got to stay out of the rain, your stuff gets wet, you got to wring it out and everything, and heat up by a fire and everything. It's pretty intense. It's very easy to get sick and not have medical supplies around. And it was interesting. There's as soon as you get into a certain area, get into the map a little bit, there's gas towns where the towns are just being gas bombed every so often. And Ryan ended up in the gas for a little bit, and he was just bleeding out and dying. I had to go run a town and a half away just to go and get some medicine to cure him.
Jeez, it sounds stressful.
Yeah, we're pretty far in too, so we set up a little mini base and kind of left it behind with just a barrel of stuff, and so we're hoping we can go back eventually and there'll still be stuff there, or if we die, we got a little go bag sort of thing.
And survival games like that, I don't know, it's hard. I've never really could get into them, but maybe a certain company can get me into it, but we'll talk about that soon.
Oh yeah, we will. What have you been getting up to?
The game, well, I've had an eventful week. So we did mention it last week because we didn't know when HamSolo was going to announce it, but me and you, we got interviewed a couple weeks ago. So that is Behind Them Sticks. So you guys can go check it out. I'll leave it in the description for that. So that was really fun. That's something we did. But I was also on Monday, I had the pleasure of joining DoubleBarrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick XL. Joined him on his primetime gaming show that he airs on Monday on his channel, which he just hit 10K this week. So congratulations, bud. Yeah, awesome. And thank you for letting me on. So that was a lot of fun, just talking about, it's funny, we were supposed to go through 2 topics, but the first topic just ended up chewing almost 2 hours and 40 minutes of our time. So hopefully hopefully I can get back on for that second topic, Boom. So I hold you to that. But we'll probably have him on in the near future. But that was a lot of fun. So it's been an eventful week with that. Tons of snow in Toronto. Just God, we got dumped. We have piles like this, like taller than me outside. Oliver is getting a lot of fun. We took him tobogganing. It's funny. So we have this like little saucer. It's like a little foam saucer. It's got a picture of Yoda on it. Actually, it's pretty funny. And it's got 2 handles on the side and like a plastic bottom. And he like gets on it, like all his knees, and he puts his arm. He's laying on his stomach, and I like put him under my legs, and I'm standing there, and I'm like going back and forth, like to get him ready to shoot him down the hill. And I'm like, 1, 2, 3, and he just shoots like a bullet down the hill, and he just loves it. Like,
oh yeah.
And he kept on getting like farther and farther. So that was a lot of fun. Like I remember doing that as a kid, and it was a great time taking him and having fun in the snow. And playing games. I'm actually playing Nobody Saves the World. That was actually going to be the gameplay, but now you're watching me just completely suck at Mortal Kombat. So forgive me if there's one genre that is just I am complete garbage at. It is fighting games. Like I don't know why. It's just a part of me just cannot just like get into it. I'm more just like button mashing it.
I found like the one time like I tried hard to get into like Mortal Kombat like way back in the day was like, okay, you learn like a few moves for like one character and like you kind of get the idea of how the moves will work, but you really need to like spend a decent amount of time if you really want to have good like combo chains and everything. Otherwise you just button mash as hard as you can. And that's all I do.
I'm like, I just want to kill this guy because I just want to get to back to the movie, because essentially the game is just a movie you're watching.
Yep.
So, but besides that, I've been playing Nobody Saves the World. That's been quite a bit of fun actually. I've been really enjoying that. Got I think the last outfit are because it's like a top-down isometric game, kind of like Diablo, and you get different characters. So you can be like an archer, a knight, and you transform, and you can do that on the fly too. And you get even ridiculous things like you're a rat or a horse and stuff. But every character and certain abilities have like different damage types. So like sharp or dark or spirit. There's one more other type.
Okay.
Sorry about that throat. And you'll eventually get to the point where you'll see bad guys on the map where it'll be like you have to use a dark move to take down, or you can't do any damage to them. So you'll have to be like floating between these like different characters you unlock, and you can level up individually and customize their abilities. So that's been pretty interesting so far. I tried Rainbow Six and Extraction, and
it was okay.
Man. I can't.
I didn't get past the tutorial stuff. Like I tried most of the tutorial levels, and I was like, I'll make some time to play with some guys this week or something. But it was very like slow paced, and it was just kind of weird. Like it was surprisingly. Like I expected more out of it. I expected at least like Rainbow Six quality game. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it feels like it was thrown together. Like the creators, like Tom Clancy's team, just like saw Left 4 Blood or Back 4 Blood, and was just like, we could probably do something like that, and just like whipped it together. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. One thing that drives me crazy is I wanted to get into playing one character, and really learning that character. But after you fail a mission, you can't use that character. He like goes into like the medic. I'm like, okay, we're doing this roguelite kind of crap on a multiplayer game. I'm like, that's not cool. Like, I understand you want people to, I guess, learn other characters at that point, but like, I wanna learn. It doesn't allow you to kind of really focus onto one character and harness that, where you're kind of jumping everywhere after that. So I don't know. Maybe maybe you and I can get into it with a friend and just really take our time and maybe watch 10 things I wish I knew before jumping back in. But some people really like it, you know. So I've heard a lot of mixed things for the game for sure. I also was playing Hitman, and God, man, like, do I have just no patience for games anymore? Like, is it just my old age? I know this game's a great game. I can see the great game in front of me. I'm like, this game is great. But then I fuck up, and it makes you want to reset the whole level. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this game needs a rewind, or like a rewind button, just like in Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
That would be just fantastic if this game had a rewind button, so I could just like go back just like a couple seconds, or even like even further, like maybe even like a full minute, so I could just start that again instead of just reloading. And even though I can like reload like little sections like back a little bit, you just don't want to, you know? But if there was that rewind, I would be experimenting so much. I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to go this. I'm going to see what happens. Okay, that didn't work, and just rewind back. Right. But I don't know if I can play it.
Yeah, like I've said before, is like I have so much trouble with my patience with that game because like it's an awesome game, and I do love like the stealth and the gameplay and everything, the cutscenes, like the storyline behind it, like love all of that stuff. But it is very hard not to want to just like, try and John Wick your way through the whole level. I'm like, can I do it? Can I just like take out people quietly and quickly enough that I can just still make it through the mission?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, I would be just like experimenting. So
I get super carried away too, and I will try and wipe the map out of people. And a lot of the time you can't do that in some of the levels.
Right? So, yeah. And you know what? A part of me just like, I like stealth games. I played a lot of Splinter Cell back in the day. I've played pretty much every single Splinter Cell, has beaten them. So, like, I like these games, but I don't know why. I think a part of me is just like, I don't want to learn this kind of stealth. Where, like, Splinter Cell, it's like, y'all bad guys, man. We're killing you. All of you, you know?
Yeah, everybody dies.
Yeah.
They can't spot you if there's no witnesses left.
In this, you're like, you got to wear a disguise and like walk in. And there's a lot of social stealth, which is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's another thing. I'm like, should I take the time and just like do it? But like, if I take the time and do it and then it just becomes like super late at night, then I got to go to bed and then life hits you the next day and I'm back to playing Halo.
I did see one really cool idea for a stealth game that was a VR stealth game.
Okay.
Where there's a guy on a roof who's the sniper, and then there's one person or multiple people who are in a room full of like other NPCs and stuff.
Yeah,
and
I know
you have to blend in as much as possible. Yeah.
And you have to snipe them.
Yeah, you got to figure out who's the right person and snipe that person.
That's funny. That's cool. That'd be interesting. And you know what? The Hitman game would be so much fun in VR, which it does have on PC. So that's one thing. You got to download it and then see if you can launch it through Steam VR through Game Pass. So report back next week, please.
If I can get that on, I will. I'll try. Like, those games are so much fun. I've got Paper Cuts too, I think it's called Paper Cuts. But it's like a stealth game where you're just wandering around like an office with robots and everything, and you get like throwing knives, or well, they're letter openers, and then you can also get like scissors and stuff. And it's basically just stuff to throw at them, and you have to stealth your way through the whole level and sneak through and either take out guys or get to the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into our first topic of the day. Okay, so, well, it looks like Respawn Entertainment is taking on a lot of different Star Wars titles. So Star Wars is going forward as they have 3 projects in the works. Jedi Fallen Order 2 is the natural sequel to the upcoming, if you did play Jedi Fallen Order. Also, they're going to be working on a first-person shooter and a strategy game as well. To be honest, based off of the history of Respawn Entertainment and how they, first-person shooters, essentially they're where they started and what made them famous as a company. And Titanfall with the incredible gameplay there, I'm really excited to see what first-person shooter Respawn Entertainment, like. Yeah, exactly, from Star Wars. Especially like if they have the, like let's say it's another Jedi focused game where it is the Force and they do that like free running like in Titanfall as well. But what would you want to see out of Respawn Entertainment first-person shooter Star Wars game?
I think even like we've seen in the like newer Mandalorian shows and everything, like there's some action there. Like they've got jetpacks, they've got all sorts of tools and gadgets and everything. It's basically just like, it'd be like playing a game full of Batman. Everybody's Batman. They all get grappling hooks and all sorts of stuff, and like, yeah. Like I could see a bounty hunter focused game.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you'd want them to go down like the bounty hunter kind of dark, seedy world of Star Wars.
I'd like to see like the final mission or like a few missions or something where you're fighting either like a Jedi or a Sith or something, and like final battle is something like you got to take down a Jedi with like a team of bounty hunters or something, or whatever it takes really, or you're just that badass of a bounty hunter, I'm sure. I wouldn't doubt they do like a Mandalorian focused one.
No, I could see that. I would actually personally like to see their take on, did you ever play back in the, I think it was the original Xbox. If not early 360, but I think original Xbox. The Star Wars Republic Commando? No, Republic Commando.
Republic Commando. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that one.
I would love to see their take on kind of like a Republic Commando co-op first-person shooter that it's very like class-based, but you have to really work with each other. Like person like shoots like the grapple hook and people like can climb up it, or kind of think Splinter Cell co-op, where it was very like I had to like pull you up and like we had to like kind of work together as like a team. I would love to see that kind of co-op gameplay, first-person shooter, story-driven game.
Army too.
Yeah, exactly. Or even make it about instead of the natural stormtrooper, maybe about the rebels or something, like a squad of rebels. I always feel like we always get the stormtrooper for the shooter.
So iconic, I guess. It's a little overdone at this point.
Like maybe a brother and sister team kind of thrown into a conflict, almost like think like Army of Two, right? But like first-person shooter. I think that'd be really cool. Awesome. With Respawn's kind of like fluid gameplay and just the ability to convey story in their gameplay. They are one of the masters at doing that. the Titanfall 2 campaign is, well, let's start from kind of, where they started from back in the day with Medal of Honor series with those campaign, and kind of really showing their really showing their worth with the Call of Duty series, especially with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2. Missions like, No Russian, and just the whole opening of the original Modern Warfare where the guy just like gets blasted at the beginning. Just kind of, they were always really good at serious stories and mixing their gameplay with the story. So you always felt like you were in the eyes of that. When you got shot, or when the nuclear bomb went off and you held the gun to shoot the guy, they were always the company to be like, no, if we're going to tell this story, we're going to make sure you are playing that story. You're not just watching it through a cutscene. So I felt the same way through Jedi Fallen Order. There is a scene, spoiler warnings for people who haven't, or have you beaten the game? Have you gotten to the end?
Not just yet.
Okay.
I put it on a harder difficulty, and I made a mistake there. I might just start over on easier and just go through.
There's an encounter at the end that is just absolutely awesome, and the gameplay that comes out of that is wicked. So all I have is high hopes for what they can provide us. Interesting thing is they're making 3 Star Wars games, right? So they're making Jedi Fallen Order third person kind of almost Souls-like with their combat system. They're making a first-person shooter, and then they're making a strategy game on top of that. Yeah. So this is a company who's just like, oh, we're going to master every genre, right? We're going to make the best third-person action games. We're going to make the best first-person shooters.
I'm curious if they're going to make them all connected.
If like other characters will show up in like the shooter or in the strategy game.
Or like even just like parts of the story or something, like have like a war that's fought on like one game, and then like the rebels advancing their position or something in one of the other games, and then having like the real-time strategy, like planning it all or something.
For the real-time strategy though, like what kind of real-time strategy would you want? The whole like Star Wars sandbox with all the vehicles and all the troop kind of types spanning a huge timeline? Or would you want something a little bit more grounded, a little bit more focused, kind of like Gears Tactics or SOCOM, kind of those kind of strategy games, where it's more infantry-based?
I think I'd want it. It's hard to say because like I like the Civilization style, like where you're expanding across large territories and everything. And it would be awesome to do that. And there's so many tools to do that with in Star Wars. Like there's so many different like spaceships and weapons and guns and everything, but also like up close too. There's all the close-up weapons that we don't get to see as much, like the Wookiee, like bowcaster and everything, and like all sorts of crazy rocket guns and ion cannons and
or even space battles.
Yeah,
space battles has a lot to do with Star Wars, right?
That's just it. That's like half the movie.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I would like a full-on RTS strategy game. Kind of like in the vein of Halo Wars. I really enjoy Halo Wars. I like the kind of simplicity to Halo Wars. And I like their rock, paper, scissors aspect to it, and their base building, even though it wasn't as like StarCraft and other RTS games where you can kind of put bases wherever you want in your kind of area where you're building. This was kind of like the home base and kind of build things around it. But I found that made you focus a lot more on just like how you wanted your troop layout to be. But I would love to see almost a Dota-like aspect to it where there's heroes in the game. So like you can call in like Vader and like they like pull down ships with force powers or like the Emperor and he's like in a chair that's floating around or he's floating around just like electrocuting people or Luke Skywalker or send in Yoda or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like they could be really creative with that. But I feel like this is Respawn we're talking about, right? Just like we were saying prior, these guys are known for their storytelling within gameplay. I could totally see them going kind of down the XCOM route where they do the very cinematic, like, you know, I pick my turn, shoot them, and it does like the whole camera whipping around. And they could, where you could say with the bigger RTS, they could really focus on like big scale battles and vehicles. With the smaller though, you can get into smaller but really focus on equipment on your characters and having specialized people in the team and maybe even smaller vehicles as well, or something like a vehicle on the map, like a tank,
speeder bikes and everything.
Yeah. So I'm curious what Respawn and strategy is going to produce out of that. So a lot of exciting things, but another question comes out of this is EA. Well, before we kind of get is EA leaning too hard on them? Is this what you want? Considering the creativity of the Titanfall universe and Apex Legends, do you feel like the Respawn focusing pretty much all their efforts on strictly Star Wars and not original properties is kind of the wrong direction for them? Yeah,
I could totally see that. Like, it's difficult because they're, in one aspect, yes, they've got these amazing like intellectual properties that they could focus on and flush out more. And like Titanfall was an awesome game and everything, and I feel like it was just starting to get more of a fan base as it was dying.
Well, Apex is based in the Titanfall universe, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's got a huge following now, and it caught up, and like it's not exceeding Fortnite or anything like that, but I know a ton of people that still play it. I know a ton of people that enjoy seeing all the updates to it and everything. And then seeing what they can do focusing on an established franchise, like I'm curious who set it in motion first. Yeah. Because if it's like EA just pushing them into it, or LucasArts or whatever, and like, you know, like, hey, we really want you to make these Star Wars games, versus Respawn being like, hey, can we get in on that property? Because we've got like 3 awesome ideas for games. That's where I think it's really going to stem. Like when you're trying to cram your creativity in someone else's box, I find the end product isn't as good. Like the passion's not as much there and everything. You're not going to get your best games out of it. But if it's Respawn wanting to do it, then it's all their creativity. It's all their want and need to make a great game, right?
Well, yeah, and maybe a lot of kind of ideas came out of when they were creating Jedi Fallen Order. Maybe just like a lot of ideas came out of that. Or maybe they had past ideas for a first-person or a strategy game that they could pretty much kind of skin Star Wars on top of that. But I really hope that it was their decision to do so. But considering who started Respawn, Vince kind of seems to be I don't take kind of any crap kind of person. And I think he would encourage especially Respawn to, if you don't want to do this, don't do this. So I'd like to hope, but then again, we're talking about EA here, and we're talking about Star Wars, and that's a lot of money, and it's a cash cow, right? So I don't know. I haven't talked to any of the developers. Maybe that's something I can maybe talk to somebody there about. Try my best for sure. But that would definitely be something I would be interested in finding out for sure.
Yeah.
So
That'd be a
with
cool
that,
question to answer.
yeah. With that said, is EA leaning too hard on Respawn? Because I feel like Respawn is their baby right now, and with the failure that is Battlefield 2042, which to the failure to the point where Battlefield 5 has more concurrent players than that game, and they are thinking about pushing it to a free-to-play model. And other studios under EA like Criterion just not coming out with like anything since I think like almost like one of the Need for Speed games. Is EA like leaning too hard on Respawn to essentially
Bolster
be
them
their
back up.
be their entire company almost besides their sports lineup, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, they'll always have their sports lineup to kind of fall back on, but I think you're right. Like, Battlefield did not do great. Like, it, as awesome as it is and as awesome as I want it to be, it's, like, there's too many problems with it.
They need to
they're
tweak
working
their
on fixing
gameplay.
it, but yeah. Like, I felt
I
like they
don't know.
tried to cram too much in at once and didn't really hold the same feel as it had before, and didn't really like play quite as well. Like, I felt more like I was just getting demolished all the time than it felt like I was actually making an impact on the battle whatsoever. Like, playing the Portal really worked well, but
yeah, and it's funny because it was just the older maps. You're like, oh, when Battlefield is more focused, it's a better game.
yeah.
When you're really tearing up the map and the destruction, like, didn't you find that was the biggest difference between when we played 2042 and then back to Bad Company? It was a smaller map, less players, but when you blew up a building, there wasn't the exact same building next to it, or you would never come across that building again. That building is gone now. And, you know, you respawn and you're going back through that area. That option is not an option anymore, where I felt in the maps were so overly big in 2042 that who cares, right? Like, where the destruction almost is meaningless at that point,
and
because you'll never go back to that building.
It was difficult even to destroy things. Like, when I was playing it, it was most of the buildings, like, okay, you could punch a hole in a wall here or there, but even some of the bigger buildings, it was like, okay, no, these are big, massive, solid concrete walls. You're not going to even do anything to them. And it was like, okay, well, like, I really wish that Battlefield had just pushed hard into the destructible environment sort of feel for a military shooter. I felt that's what really set them apart, and that's what I really enjoyed about it more than anything, was just like, okay, I can kind of tell what wall this is. I can kind of tell if my bullet's going to go through it or not, and I know a guy just ducked behind that wall. Like, I can get through it, or I can toss a grenade, or I can shoot a, like, noob tube and take out that wall and either bust in there and kill him, or take out the wall and him with it, hopefully. And they kind of moved away from that.
Yeah, and I feel like we're so obsessed with, let's make it a bigger Battlefield. I'm like, okay, I feel like you hit a sweet spot with the 64 player, and take your beautiful engine and really focus that down into that one street and take that destruction. Imagine like seeing Unreal 5 kind of engine quality stuff with destruction, like the splinter of wood, you know, debris like coming out, like put in like physics on top of that, where like a pylon like from like Halo could just like wipe you out. Like,
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 I'd love
awesome
to see it
stuff.
even, like, okay, you can use your gun to, like, shoot a circle around and have your guy, like, bust through the wall at that point. Like,
Or
really
like the
put the physics
floor or
in and
something like
everything.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot out the floor and drop down a floor as someone's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
in.
That'd be
That would
so
be
amazing.
amazing.
So hopefully Vince, I know we're getting off topic talking about Battlefield, but to kind of circle back around, hopefully Vince Zampala, who headed up Respawn and kind of brought them to the heights that they were in the incredibly well-managed studio that they are. We're talking about a studio who brought Titanfall out, and then Titanfall 2, Apex, and then Jedi Fallen Order in like a span of like 4 years pretty much. So they're incredibly talented, and they use the engine they want. If they don't want to use Frostbite, they just like, we're going to use Unreal. So to kind of circle back around, I do think EA is leaning too much on them, but I feel like they kind of have to, considering the state of a lot of their bigger studios like BioWare, like just like a bunch of their studios under their belt. So like DICE as well, and even Criterion. I have no idea what that studio is doing. The people who made like Burnout and stuff, dude.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I love Burnout.
exactly, they haven't like made a game in like forever. They showed like this concept thing like so long ago, but their whole car division is now being taken over by Codemasters and stuff like that. So that's going to be interesting. So I feel like their company's kind of in a rebuilding kind of stage. So we'll see what happens. But I'm glad to see at least Star Wars being produced by
company.
the good studio under EA.
Yep.
So that's relieving. So fingers crossed, everything, and that's what we want. In the end, we want good games, right?
Yep.
Good Star Wars games, and you know what? They'll be on EA Play soon enough, and that means they'll be on Game Pass, and that means they'll be in our hands as well. Maybe not on day one, but soon after that, and that's all that matters. Okay, so with that, let's talk about some great financial quarter. So with the end of the year comes the financial yearly quarterly results, and it looks like Xbox is doing a tremendous growth with up to $16.28 billion from 2021, proving that games are truly the future for Microsoft.
Yep.
So with this growth, and considering they just spent pretty much $70 billion, well, not spent yet, but going to spend $70 billion on Activision Blizzard, $16 billion is not a small amount of money. And when we look at that graph that's on the screen for everyone who is watching, think, poll chart, and this year is a lot higher than the last year. So,
well, basically, we got like back in 2016, they only made $8 billion, and then moving to 2017, they were getting closer to 10. 2018, they were way above 10, almost at 12 million. So, I think probably 11 million there, or 11 billion. 500 million. 2019 is actually worse than 2018, and
which is not surprising because I think a lot of people were waiting for the console launches.
Yeah, exactly.
2021.
It's that stuff. Just waiting for it to come out and everything, so you can get your hands on some new gear. You don't want to be buying too much hardware. Getting a few games, but we were getting. Horribly enough, nobody knew that we were going to be spending all of 2020 and 2021 in our homes playing video games. So
yeah, for real. So, but growth, like significant growth.
Oh yeah, 2020, like we got almost 14 billion, and then 2021 is just jumping right up again, over 16 billion.
So a pretty significant, over $1 billion growth year in, year out. Also, their services, their content and services is, well, one, they had yeah, so it's about 77% of their revenue off that was from their content and services. So Game Pass right there is showing its worth. Even though I even read that they had lower third-party sales, but it kind of, Game Pass kind of offset that. So it shows that, for a slower year for third-party sales, that Game Pass can kind of offset that, or Game Pass is the cause of those lower third-party sales. So in the end, they're still making their money back, though.
Yeah,
we'll give a little take, right?
I feel like we're gaining more from that because we're gaining the whole Game Pass, how it works and everything. We're also getting xCloud and everything too, so we're able to game on more devices. You can't really go too wrong. If they're losing some on third-party sales and everything and gaining on Game Pass, that just means kind of more money directly in their pockets and more funding for our entertainment.
Also a more curated list of games as well. We've definitely had some hits. We've definitely had some misses, that's for sure. Hopefully have a lot more hits going in the future, but we'll see, right? But it is a pretty significant growth. Hardware sales are up, but they said they had their best year ever in hardware sales for their console, so that exceeds past 12 million units. So they are doing good. I expect Sony to, when they show their results, to have really good console sales on there as well. All in all, though, this just says we have a very, very healthy industry and that people want to play games and they want to play games on Xbox. And considering the growth here, I can only see them spending more money on Game Pass to get day and date. There's a couple games I feel like we're going to get announced very soon. Because, every month we get close to, we have the new month of Game Pass games being announced. So let's pray. Either Elden Ring or Dying Light 2. Let's pray for that. I hope. I think in March also Final Fantasy, that Stranger's Paradise, kind of Souls-like game. I have my gut tells me, my overweight gut tells me that that it's coming. Yeah, right. I feel like there might have been a deal with Square where, like, depending on how good Outriders did, they probably have a game that they're willing to kind of put on. I feel like Square has one big game they're kind of willing to throw Game Pass, and I feel like it's that Final Fantasy. And I feel like that Final Fantasy would be a good choice, just to be like, I know it's not 16, you're not getting 16, it's not happening, but here you go. Don't be that mad. So, but a healthy industry, and Xbox is just showing their worth to Microsoft every year. I'm curious what the kind of politics within Microsoft is. If some people are like, oh, it's not about Office anymore, we used to be loved over here.
All the serious technical programmers and everything working on Excel, just like these damn gamers moving in.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. That'd be funny. We got some serious products to push out and everything. Like, yeah, but can you launch a pylon into someone's head at 300 miles an hour?
So I thought we were about productivity, not productivity. Video games goes against our entire company. Oh, it's so funny. It's nice to see, and I feel like it's just going to be bigger next year, considering this announcement of the Activision Blizzard, people are going to be like, okay, so I'm going to buy an Xbox because I know Call of Duty. So everyone who plays Call of Duty, why wouldn't you play that? Who are console gamers, mind you, not PC. PC players got a PC game. But anyone who's a console gamer who's really into Call of Duty, and you say to them, this console owns that game.
Yeah.
How could you not naturally just gravitate towards that? Because everywhere else you play it has a risk of it going away, right?
I did see some news that Activision wants the next 3 Call of Duties to come out on PlayStation as well. But
a little more news on that, actually. We can kind of one thing. It's not in the show, but things I've kind of read today is, and I think of some Jason Schreier, eye roll. I really just would want a positive article from that guy. It's just it's negative.
Just all negative news.
It's just like, give me some positivity, right? Why don't you write about a company who's actually doing shit right? So what I heard is the next 3 installments, but it sounds like next year's and the year after that. But then the year after that will be an off year because they say the next Call of Duty installment after that, and then the next one will be a Warzone 2. And then everything after that is kind of up in the air. So you kind of leave the PlayStation with this perpetual, Yeah,
I guess that's the whole thing too. Is like, okay, the next 3 Call of Duty games, is that the next Call of Duty's campaign, multiplayer, and Warzone? Or
yeah, so I think it's two Call of Duties that have a campaign and traditional multiplayer, and then a full-on Warzone sequel, and then nothing after that. Besides, obviously, continuing the Warzone trend, and maybe taking maybe a year or 2 hiatus off the main line, and really, like, I could totally see them doing that and then not even coming out with another Call of Duty until maybe the next Xbox comes out, or maybe the launch of like a mid-gen refresh or something like that.
Yeah. And mind you, from what I saw too, like, this is what Activision wants. And what Activision wants, once this deal goes through, might not matter.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
I'm hoping, like, yes, their Xbox is going to take as much consideration, and Microsoft's going to take as much consideration into what their wants and needs are as possible. And I think Microsoft is open and willing to work out a deal for that on the PlayStation as well, right? Like, I could see, I'm sure they've got something up their sleeve. Like, what I'd want to see is like, oh, hey, yeah, you poured us over some Spider-Man. You guys have had it for a little while now.
Yeah.
Like,
they got leverage, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It's just like, okay, and we'll hand you, like, they want to do it. Like, who are we to say no if you hand us some Spider-Man?
Well, even like they could be like, why don't you put God of War on Game Pass PC or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. So they could, I feel like having Call of Duty, especially if they, oh man, imagine taking like a 2 years hiatus. There's still Call of Duty Warzone 2 going strong, giving people exactly what they want. But they take a 3-year hiatus, leveraging the technology Microsoft has given them.
Oh, yeah.
And you see the trailer for that Call of Duty, the hype, dude, around that. And Sony would want, like, you can't tell me Sony wouldn't want to be like all over that.
I think it could even be that, like, Microsoft and Phil Spencer and Activision, whatever, are smart enough to set this up so that no matter what Sony does, they're going to have a hard time. It's like either they're going to be like, no, we're not going to give you anything, even though you want to, you got this amazing exclusive and you gave it to us anyways.
Yeah.
And like, you guys are being the nice guys and everything and doing the right thing, and we don't want to give you anything. Or
Yeah.
they're going to have to find some sort of peace offering that works like that, right? It's like,
Or their own Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Maybe they shouldn't have, relied on that as their kind of multiplayer shooter offering, and maybe had their own Halo. They have a great franchise, Killzone, in my opinion, but they don't really do it. So, when that day comes, I bet they'll be in a real crisis. But speaking of crisis, we might be, right? You like that? We might be having another one coming. So it looks like Crytek is going back to the Crysis series with a 4th installment. And they showed off a teaser trailer for it. So a teaser trailer, teaser trailer is good, teaser trailer. But have you ever played this series, Dan? For one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually originally got it when I was first able to build my first gaming PC, and of course, like everyone else. Oh yeah, exactly. The benchmark. It's just like, okay, it's on sale. It was quite a few years after it had come out originally and everything too, and I was just like, okay, I finally got like a half decent graphics card or whatever. I think I was running like a R9 280 X. I want to say X. It was an R9 280 anyways. It's a AMD card, and it was beefy. It was good for me.
At the time?
Yeah. At the time, it was great for me. I got it on sale and everything, and like it ran all the stuff I wanted it to run. But yeah, it struggled. I had a pretty beefy, power-hungry AMD computer back in the day, and I still have pretty much all AMD on my new computer, but yeah, it's just like it's one of those games where you're just like, no, I got to play this, just see how it runs, see if I can run it, and how high I can crank up the settings before my computer crashes.
Yeah, no, that game was definitely the showpiece, especially the scene where you're on the aircraft carrier and you're fighting that huge like tentacle mechanized like tank thing. It was very cool. That game still holds up graphically today. I really enjoyed the sequels too, the second and third one. I really enjoyed the third one. I love the story. It was like these cephalopods that came out of the ocean, and they had like their own kind of like mechanized suits around them. I wouldn't mind kind of going back and checking them out again. I think they remastered them and just re-released them not too long ago. So I can see why they are announcing a sequel, considering they just put those out. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I really enjoyed the Crysis games. I thought they always had a good feel to them. Some good EA shooters. EA, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised EA hasn't kind of gotten in touch with them and put this under their banner. I don't think this is under EA, mind you, but
I think they're still going to strive to be that benchmark and everything too.
Yeah,
and if it's not just main like game, then it's going to be VR. I think they're going to be pushing the VR next. I could see that. Because like it's going to be difficult to compete now with Unreal Engine 5 coming out and everything, and using that, like all the games are going to look absolutely amazing. Like it's going to be, within a few years, it's going to be hard to distinguish reality from video games, like from a picture of each, you know?
Even Unreal 5 is already pushing that, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm curious if it will be the next iteration of their Cry engine, because you don't see a lot of games use Cry engine. Like you see pretty much the most dominated engines I see are Unreal or Unity, right? And anything else is either in-house engine from like another company. So
Yeah.
especially now that Microsoft owns all these studios, they have like the most in-house engines under their belt, like easily. They have a ton of engines. Holy crap, it's almost incredible how many engines they have under their belt. Which will be interesting if we see them start licensing some of those out. But I would love to see, Crysis 4 come out as a new benchmark in graphic fidelity and really show off what new programming techniques, DirectML, ray tracing, just more modern development techniques and implementations into their engine, and what they can do with these new hardware as well. So Crytek...
If they line it up right with the new Flash movie, then they could have him show up and just call it Infinite Crisis.
There you go, right? They could do a tie-in, like part of their multiplayer. They have like a Flash jacket or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, something crazy. So that would be cool. So all in all, I'm excited for Crysis 4. I am a Crysis fan. I loved like just being in the tall grass with the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Those games.
It reminded me kind of of Turok.
Yeah.
Remember Turok back in the day?
Kind of reminded me of like a Turok.
Very much Turok feels. And like, just you're in like a space super suit or something.
All right. So.
No disco mode, unfortunately.
No disco mode. Right? But I remember there was, I think it was in the first game, there was a really cool blizzard that you went through. But speaking of blizzards, no, that was a bad one, right? That was terrible.
That was just a touch.
Yeah, forced. I was like, I remember there's snow and okay. So blizzard actually. So getting on to not to keep us here all night, but Blizzard, a fantastic company, has, in my opinion, the timing on this is a little perfect, but Blizzard has announced that they are making a survival game based on a new universe, and based off Blizzard's outstanding universe building with games like Overwatch, World of Warcraft, which I am actually a huge lore. I'm like really obsessed with World of Warcraft lore. I have like the Chronicles. I've read every single Warcraft book. I don't play the game, but I watch like the recap of the expansions and what's going on in the story. So I'm very, 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 very into World of Warcraft lore. So the fact that they are taking on the survival game genre, which is a huge genre in itself, which you were talking about earlier, playing DayZ and stuff, and getting your kids into Minecraft. That's a survival game as well, right? I feel like their unique way of world building and character design lends very well to taking maybe the survival genre to a more, maybe even more accessible place. They're very known for their great gameplay, beautiful graphics, and incredible lore and world building. What would you want to see personally out of a Blizzard-made survival game, considering, like Dan, like you are more so the survival game player here. That's not really a genre I'm into. I'm more so, point me in a direction and I will shoot, or, a turn-based RPG. But what about for yourself?
I can't wait. Like, I'm excited because there's so many aspects of like World of Warcraft and a lot of their other games that already kind of fit the survival like sort of aspect. Like I could easily see World of Warcraft just having like, okay, you have food, you have like water you need to have more often, which
They
you
kind
kind
of
of
did
do.
that.
Yeah,
They did that for in one of the expansions where they drop you on an island and you kind of have to go through. It was more like a roguelite. So
yeah,
they've kind of dabbled in that
yeah,
that
exactly, right?
genre and
I
Warcraft
think
for
we've
sure.
already got kind of like, been fed over the years some little tidbits of how they're gonna present this and everything, and they're great at world building. They're great at um, just character design and everything, like you were saying, and it's going to be something I'm very interested to play, no matter what. I feel like it's going to feel somewhat like a survival Skyrim or survival World of Warcraft sort of game, and I can't wait to see what they come up with because it's going to be something new, something different. You can't just do the same thing over and over again. So I'm excited to see how Blizzard's going to take it and how they're going to roll with it.
I'm curious how big of a game it's going to be because a
Yeah,
survival game can stretch from being a very bite-sized, almost battle royale-ish kind of in
yeah.
and out kind of
Small map or
experience
something. Yeah,
to maybe even
infinite.
something as big as World of Warcraft, where the world is really big. And like that was one of the most interesting things about playing World of Warcraft compared to other MMOs is the
Yeah,
world was full. You could walk from one end to the world through zones to the other end. There wasn't
yeah,
any loading, so it felt like an actual world. The only loading
yeah.
there was when you were leaving from
Going through
continents,
portals
though.
or something. Yeah,
Yeah, like when you're going like across the entire ocean to get to the
yeah.
other like Eastern kingdoms and stuff like that.
Fast traveling
Um,
through a portal.
so
Yeah,
I'm very curious if they will take that aspect and make it like almost like a server-based game where I can log in and log out and my character kind of persists in this kind of survival world and we can get together, maybe build a base together, but
yeah,
have that like the interesting thing about Blizzard games is they're one of the few companies out there kind of like Disney or where like there's a feel to their stuff or like Pixar, like when you see a Pixar movie, it's a Pixar movie. Like when you see a Blizzard game, it has that like Blizzard kind of magic to it. And
yeah,
it's really sad to see where the kind of company has gone and even a lot of the origins of the company of kind of what has come out of that. But um, let's not forget about a lot of the good people and the creativity and the um, love of these characters that have come out of Blizzard. And
oh yeah,
I feel like they tackle new genres fairly well. And from what I've heard, actually, people who have left Blizzard have said they are very excited about this survival game. So that's exciting. But back to this whole Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard and the fact that they announced this game a couple days later is kind of like, hey, come work for Blizzard again. We are getting purchased from Microsoft. I was even, and this is something we will kind of discuss further after this on our last topic, but when Phil Spencer put out that statement in purchasing Activision Blizzard and said once this transaction is done, they are going to be answering to me, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, I feel like that was not just that statement in itself, but almost a statement, more so a statement to developers saying
mm,
like, hey, when this is done, you've only heard good things about me. Like that's all from what I've seen. And you can look at even the numbers growth since, Phil Spencer has taken over. Look at the perpetual growth in their profits and bringing Xbox to another level. And people like Tim Schafer or the team from Obsidian or Ninja Theory, they, developers talk to each other. They have talked to each other and they said, hey, you know what? It's actually true. They have given us our creative freedom, but we are not scared of getting, funding for our next game. Yeah. So if this is actually the case and this is the narrative that is out there, and if it is accurate, I feel like that is one, Phil saying, come work for me, and now Blizzard saying, hey, this game, which I'm sorry, it will be an Xbox exclusive. This game's 100% an Xbox exclusive, right?
Oh, no doubt. If they're like designing all of this and everything, yeah.
Yeah, this game is not coming out for another like 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So this will be coming out under their banner for sure. And it will be a perfect game for Game Pass, a survival multiplayer game. But I feel like there's a lot of hope in the future now for Blizzard going forward after this acquisition especially. And they have good leadership under them. They have, funny enough, a lot of ex-Microsoft people like Mike Ibarra and Rob Ferguson, the guy who headed up the coalition for a long time. So it's almost like little sleeper cells, I was saying, and they got activated. So I look forward to seeing what Blizzard can do with this genre and what the future of Blizzard just has in general. I'm very curious if now that they are going to be acquired by Microsoft, if they are not going to be called Activision Blizzard. If they will just be called Blizzard and this is Activision. And they are actually separate
It'll be
entities.
Separated again, yeah.
Yeah, from each other. And when we talk about Blizzard, we don't have to add Activision Blizzard to it. Blizzard is making their own decisions again and not having to worry about what Activision's doing or pulling teams off to work on Call of Duty.
I would like to see that because they're so different studios.
Yeah.
As much as they're a company that's been kind of mashed together, it would be nice to see them separated and back on their own projects and everything. Because, you think of a Blizzard game, you can see the artwork almost already, right? Like you think of Activision and it's a totally different picture in your head.
Huh. I'm curious if this will bring back some talent they lost from this. Because, honestly, you're like, okay, I liked working on Blizzard properties, and now I'm going to work for Microsoft and get the, Microsoft is considered to be one of the best places to work in the world for standards. So they can bring that. I love the image for it. It's kind of it looks like a hunter, and she's scanning. Like the footprints and stuff like that. I think there was one more image. I don't know if you had that.
It was that one up, but it looks cool too. Just it was, people in the forest, they can see a castle in the distance.
Yeah.
And there's just a archway from the dark forest in the background, and they're
with a floating castle in the sky. Yeah. So what is that going to be? And the fact that there's a city. So how is that going to work? I'm curious if there will be portals into other worlds. I don't know. It seems really cool. I'm going to use that as the thumbnail. Inside the portal will be a picture of me and you. Yeah. Or something.
We'll be little people staring into the world. Yeah.
So
that looks awesome, though.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool. So Blizzard, they made good stuff. So I hope they can, I hope they can prosper under their leadership.
I think they'll push through, and they're going to have a great team going forward and great management now. Hopefully, a lot better. I think there's been a lot of instability in the gaming world.
Mm-hmm.
and it really needs to start to stabilize, and I think Microsoft's going to be the ones to start doing that. Like, I know under Sony too, I haven't heard horrible things about working for Sony or anything like that. They're one of the bigger publishers and everything, but I think Microsoft is leading the way right now for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely in culture for sure. But speaking of that, speaking for what we see them leading the way, this is kind of something I got into on Primetime Gaming on Monday, but kind of wanted to get your take on this. So thank you, Boom, for the topic. But now that we've had a week to sit on the fact that Microsoft is purchasing Activision Blizzard, and saw some of the inflated and over-exaggerated response by the gaming community and press, stating things that this will hurt creativity in the studios as if it was like a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And is there a double standard in the gaming press? Xbox bad guy, Sony equals good guy. Like I was saying, this is something I did tackle on Primetime Gaming, so go check that out on his channel. And just wanted to kind of, there was a lot of us on the show, so even though we did talk about it for quite a long time, I wouldn't mind kind of getting into kind of your feelings on this double standard we see in the gaming press towards Microsoft, which, in my opinion, I just don't understand.
I don't get it either. It's funny, especially like reading online and everything and seeing people's takes on what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy, especially seeing like the Sony-oriented person versus the Microsoft-oriented person and everything. And I always try and stay in between. I don't feel the need to bash the crap out of either of the services or anything. Like, if I've got my dislikes, like, there's respectful ways to talk about your dislikes and everything, and there's like disrespectful ways to talk about it and everything. And yeah, one of the weirdest ones coming out there was like, yeah, they're like gonna crush the creativity and everything. It's like, where have you been seeing that? Like, I saw some people talking about like flooding the market with like microtransactions because they did it to Halo and everything. It's like it's not like Microsoft's just known for doing that. And like, when you're giving out your games for free, I mean, isn't that, and all of the microtransactions that are in there are all cosmetic and everything, like, isn't that kind of the ideal situation for a microtransaction to sit in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't understand the narrative, really. Just like, yeah, like Sony's done their share of shitty things, and like, especially pushing the exclusivity. Like, I don't remember Xbox ever just being like, oh no, well, we've got these exclusives. They're the best.
Well, and not nearly as long. So like, I remember like back in the 360 days, like, yeah, we did get our exclusives and we did have like content exclusive first for like Call of Duty stuff. But let's say where things really started changing in the PS4 era with Sony, you can say Destiny was a great example. But talk about like almost ruining a community of players, because Destiny is a game you don't want to have your content locked to a certain platform. And they had some exotics and strikes that were locked to that platform for an entire year. And in a game like Destiny, once that year is done, all that content is just obsolete because the next expansion's out and everyone's on to new things. So their exclusivity lockdown is at a completely different level than what I feel like Microsoft has ever done. And maybe they have more leverage over that because, they are number one in console sales. So they have that leverage for that for sure. But like Final Fantasy 16, I don't even know how long the exclusivity is for that. I know Forspoken's 2 years. Final Fantasy 16, considering we haven't even gotten Final Fantasy 7 Remake, is that just going to be perpetually never coming to Xbox platform? And I really like playing Final Fantasy games, and I've gotten very used to playing Final Fantasy games on Xbox. And Street Fighter V, Persona, a ton of just like Japanese games in general. And like I said, it probably comes down to the console market, and they have more leverage over these developers.
Yeah.
But
I think Sony's just been leaning on that for too long.
Yeah.
It's like,
just,
okay, we've got the exclusives. It's like, okay, but how long are you just going to be the guy who's got these few exclusive games? And it's like at some point, like, Microsoft's just like, we can just have all the games.
Yeah.
And like, we just don't feel the need to. Like, they were less, like a whole lot less reluctant to withhold like crossplay and stuff like that. That held us back.
You still have to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's just it. It's just held back so much. Like, why not just introduce the communities together? You like your PlayStation better, you like the controller, you like everything else. That's totally fine. There's no reason we can't play games together.
Exactly.
Not like there's like the control gap that there is with PC, and we still live with that every day, and it's not a problem. Like, it's got its problems. I'm not going to say it's not a problem, but PC versus console gaming, it's like it can coexist, and it's fine.
Well, apparently the developers at Sony were begging Sony, like, please just release our games on PC. Like, we want to reach like a bigger audience. And Jim Ryan clearly wants to expand past the console. And I was even saying on, like I was saying, Primetime Gaming, what happens when that barrier of entry is essentially gone, when the next TV we purchase will most likely have a Game Pass app, or a Stadia app, or an NVIDIA GeForce app built right into the TV, and it will come with an Xbox controller. Like, what do you do at that point when, like, how in my head can I justify going to buy a $600 machine, even though, yes, great exclusive, fantastic exclusives, but I can just load up an app on my TV and play fantastic exclusives as well. And
you know how much, like, I could have bought a super nice TV for a very small amount of money if I didn't have to buy my console.
There you go. And also, back to them buying Activision Blizzard. When they, but I know what you mean. When, let's say, Call of Duty comes out there day one on Game Pass, and indie game is standing right next to Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And that person clicks on that indie game. Like, how good will you feel that your game can sit next to and be a click away, just like Call of Duty is a click away for those? So back to Xbox being bad, Sony being good, and how they are going to hurt creativity. You cannot tell me in the last 5 years that this company, or at least the leadership who's been running the Xbox brand, and especially the leadership that is coming up as well, like people like Sarah Bond, has not just creating an environment of creativity. Just look at Psychonauts 2 is a great example where a majority of that game was developed under the eyes of Microsoft, and it is an incredible feat for storytelling, creativity, and just ended up being the game they wanted it to be, based off of the creative freedom Microsoft gave them. So I feel like this whole bias towards Sony is almost like, would you say it's almost like an Oscar bias? Like, highbrow art. My Oscar-winning. I'm going to go to the Toronto Film Festival and watch my artsy movie. Yeah, like snooty. I'm going to fart into a wine glass and sniff it.
I honestly feel like, and it's funny because I had this discussion with somebody online too, because their whole push was Sony fosters these new smaller IPs and everything, creates these new ones instead of purchasing IPs that already exist. And I was like, first of all, that's not quite true in the first place, but look at what Microsoft's doing right now. Yes, they're purchasing big IPs and everything. They're making some of them exclusive, or as many as they can anyways, just to, push some people over to Xbox if they can. It's business. But at the same time, they don't need to just create their own IPs and grow themselves when they've created an entire environment on Game Pass and everything to help those indie games, just like you were talking about. When they're sitting next to that Call of Duty, when they're sitting next to Skyrim and everything, they get that spotlight shone on them. It gives these indie developers and everything that Microsoft doesn't own a huge chance to leap forward in their gaming development and everything. Their company's going to grow, it's going to get better, it's going to get more exposure, people are going to try the game more, they'll get more feedback, they'll make better games, and then when they're a bigger game company and everything, I feel like that's when game developers level up. That's when they get the resources and the money to spend on these bigger projects, make bigger, crazier games and everything, and we all just benefit from it. You get those nice, awesome, simpler, easier to develop, indie games and everything, and as they get bigger and everything, and they get into these bigger companies, or at least associated with them or whatever, they end up just prospering.
Well, and look at Ninja Theory. Look at that 6-minute trailer we saw for Hellblade 2. I'm sorry, if anyone watched that and was like, this looks like a mainstream game right here, the Call of Duty player is going to love this game. Be like, you're crazy. Did you see this game? This game looks weird as shit. Holy crap.
The first game was just, it was such a different experience playing the game. It's most games, they want you to just be immersed and feel like you're the character and everything. This one doesn't want you to be immersed by making all the choices yourself and everything, but they want you to experience what this woman's going through and how she's becoming more powerful from it and everything. And it's just from the menu straight into the game, straight into everything, it's just a different experience than I expected. Yeah. And it pulls me in way more, and just having the headphones on and everything, you can hear those little whispers and everything like that, and it really changes the feel of the game. It's cool.
But you can't tell me from seeing that 6-minute trailer that team is not just unchained for their creativity. That was some bizarre stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's that game's next level up, right?
Yeah, right. And games like Avowed, coming from Obsidian, where they can really make the RPG fantasy game they've always wanted to make. So I think this whole Xbox bad guy, Sony good guy is, like I said, it's inflated. Both companies have done stupid things. Microsoft has even admitted to, and you can say that's one thing Microsoft has done over Sony is they have talked about a lot of the mistakes they've done, where Sony kind of sweeps it under the rug and really doesn't talk about, things
that didn't happen.
Yeah, didn't happen, or exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, and Sony has taken exclusives away from Xbox, and Xbox is it will take exclusive, and this is gonna persist in the future. But in the end, I don't think there's any creative control, or there will probably be some creative control, but I don't think like these companies are losing their creative freedom or anything like that. If anything, I feel like a lot of these developers are going to get their creative freedom back because they are not going to be on the perpetual treadmill that is Call of Duty. Like how many, like 6 studios under Activision alone were just sent to the salt mines of Call of Duty. Like I bet there's so many concepts. I bet, you know what? I bet as soon as they announce this, I bet a lot of these studios had meetings and were like, let's dust off some of these concepts. I want a small team to start working on some new concept things. So when Microsoft purchases them, we are going to go into the office and be like, this is the game we want to make. Look at it and go from there. I do think Infinity Ward and Treyarch will continue to make Call of Duty. I don't think those 2 studios will be off the Call of Duty train. Sorry. But I think everything else from Sledgehammer to... I don't know if Sledgehammer might just continue as a support studio for maybe even multiple Xbox. But I feel like High Moon, Raven, Radical... I feel like all those studios will finally get their time to shine in the sun again and then get their creativity back. So I think in this case, if this was like, let's say, late 360, early Xbox One days, maybe I'd be a little nervous. No doubt. But I don't think since Phil Spencer has taken over and the direction this company has been going in the last 5 years especially, I feel like we're having our PS4 moment almost. You know?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't understand it. Get off Microsoft's back. Fuck off, guys. But like I was saying, with the growth of the financial report, the gaming industry is in a good space. Nintendo does their own weird thing. Sony wants to continue on the track they are. They want to stay traditional. That's not a bad thing. A lot of people dig that. And Microsoft wants to kind of take this Netflix approach to it. But you know what? Colin Moriarty did say he thinks this might have set off a mergers and acquisition kind of firestorm after this. Yep. And the only other company, and this is a company Sony has talked to, and I'd be not shocked if Sony gets purchased, but the only other company that has really responded out of this has been Netflix. Netflix is like, don't worry, we're going to make a world-class gaming service. So I'm like, okay. Like those are the real
competitors.
Competitors out there. So the streaming wars are heating up in the gaming sector. So
we can only really benefit. I mean, if you don't have to buy a console anymore, like
Netflix. People are complaining the price kind of went up. I'm sorry. I'm never going to get rid of my Netflix subscription. They make too much stuff and too much, like not all of it is great, but I'm watching Ozark right now. That's a great show. Lost in Space, great show. Witcher, great show. But then there's some crap. But then I get some, some fun stuff like Blown Away, the glass blowing competition show. I'm just like, hell yeah. Give me some like feel good TV right now. Right. So I feel like The Gunk was a good example of that kind of, you can almost call it Game Pass shovelware, but still a good game in the end. Yeah, exactly. But I feel like the industry is growing. We are still very almost still in our infancy stage, or young toddler stage of our industry, and we are still kind of figuring out what our final form is going to kind of be out of this. But all these companies have done good and bad things. but I can only see us, me and you, and everyone else listening, and people who are a subscriber of Game Pass and a lover of the Xbox brand. That we're the only ones who are going to really benefit out of this, right? I might actually play the last 6 Call of Duty campaigns I've missed when they all finally go on to Game Pass. I was curious. Somebody wrote an article. He's like, if you really like The Expanse, the TV show, you should play Infinite Warfare, like their space one. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. So I love The Expanse. I think with that, we are going to wrap this up. Like always, Dan, take us home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't forget to smack that subscribe button on our YouTube page and tippity-tap that like button. You can leave a comment on my sexy voice or Josh's beautiful face, that majestic beard. Xbox North Podcast. Find us audio only on Spotify and Google Podcast. Just search relentlessly for Xbox North Podcast. We're also on Reddit and Instagram. Take a look for Xbox North Podcast. And for Twitter, @NorthXbox. Because why the hell would we make it easy for you?
Why not? All right. Well, everyone,
see you
have
guys
a good
later.
evening.
Yeah.
Good night.
Keep watching. Bye.